Alright, let's finish off this Halloween franchise with the two Rob Zombie films. The first one, Halloween 2007. The second film, called just Halloween in the Halloween franchise, since the new one is going to be called Halloween as well. Which is just a funny thing I wanted to point out. But Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, is... Man, I really am mixed on this movie and the second one as well, even though I like the second one more than this, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 more. I'm mixed on this one, but in terms of ambition, in terms of a horror remake, this is actually one of the way better ones from the 2000s, where he like, whether you agree or disagree with his decisions in this movie, the way these characters are portrayed, the writing, blah, 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 all that, that's a lot of stuff that I have issues with. Despite whatever you think about this movie, I feel like people can't really argue as much that this isn't ambitious. Like, I mean, you could say the second act is more like, definitely more just like the first film, but it's still different too. But it's way more like the first film than the first 40-50 minutes of this movie, where the first 40-50 minutes is totally extremely different than the original, where in the original you just get that opening kill. You have no reason why you have no understanding or reasoning why Michael did it, and then just cuts to current day, and that's the whole movie of the original Halloween. And in this one, the first 40 to 50 minutes is young Michael Myers, with all the issues that I have with it, but we'll get to that. I'm going to talk about this in order in terms of scenes, in terms of how the film is laid out. And I liked how the movie opened with that Dr. Loomis quote. I thought that was a cool quote. And then you get from that to the Myers house, where you get family time at the Myers house at breakfast. And this is where the movie has some of the biggest annoyances with me, in which I don't have any problem with being vulgar, but these characters are just so unlikable, really unlikable. A lot of these characters, the Myers family, the only one I could say I feel some sympathy with is Michael, but it's kind of a dumb reason why he becomes so like a killer. But I feel the most sympathy for Deborah, the mother, Sherry Moon Zombie's character, because you see her real it's great whenever I get talk to about the scenes with her, but you really don't care for these characters that much. They really are, like, in most of Rob Zombie's movies, it's got that really horrible redneck dialogue where, like, it's not horrible in the sense of how it's written, it's just how these characters act. They're just so unlikable, so horrible to each other, and you cannot really root for them because they give such a vile, like, personality on the screen. It just doesn't give me anything to latch up on, and I really think that's a shame. And in the original, it's like Michael's family, from the one scene they were in, his parents, they weren't rednecks, they were a normal suburban family. So having this, I didn't get it, but it just really was so unlikable. Like, just these characters were so horrible to each other. And like the lines, like shit, like where Deborah is talking to Ronnie, and like is it Ronnie? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Like, guy who's living with Deborah, and they are arguing, and he's like, you know, that waitress at the diner's giving me that freaky eye. I might just go over there and flap all over them tits. Like, it's dialogue that it's, like I said, I'm not a prude. It's just dialogue that's just so overly vulgar to be vulgar. It's not like there's a reason. Like, it feels like it's so much overkill that it makes these characters kind of cartoonish in a way. Especially that character. Like, he's very cartoonish. and just how he screams at her and how she screams at him, how he talks about how hot her daughter Judith is, and how she puts up with him just living there. Like, I don't get it, and I don't get how, like, Michael, the way that Michael is treated by everybody except for the mother in the family is horrible. Like how Ronnie would say, like, he thinks that Michael's like a queer because he makes masks. Like, shit like that is just so overly, like, it makes Ronnie, especially, it makes him so unlikable. And Judith is just annoying because she's such a bitchy character that, like, Michael, I mean, I bet Michael did retort back to her in other times that we didn't see in this movie, but in this movie, like, Judith, the sister, is so unlikable to Michael too, because she just calls him like she just treats him like shit, and he didn't, I don't think in this movie, say anything to make her warrant that response. He's just a weird kid, but I mean, he's got the weird psychotic tendencies, but like, as a normal, like, he's not a normal kid, but like, he's just kind of odd, and like, it makes Judith really unlikable too, and it's just annoying that, like, a lot of these characters in this family are just so awful to each other, and just hearing them argue and complain, I understand what Rob Zombie's going for. He's going for this angle that Michael turns bad because all of his family is horrible, but to me that makes it kind of stupid, because it's like, really, that's the only thing you can get, is that he lives with this redneck idiot family who, like, treats him all bad, so he just kills him. I feel like I know it demystifies the original, of course, and it's not trying to be the original. So I'm still giving him props for doing something different. I just don't always agree with it. Like, these characters are unlikable and annoying, especially at the beginning of the movie. Just the first 40 minutes, just unlikable, like the Myers family. And I liked how Michael in this one uses masks, but he does it in an interesting way, because in the original he only has the clown mask at the beginning, and then he has the William Shatner mask throughout the rest of the movie. But I liked how this movie, like, Rob Zombie did a good job of, like, making a personal touch of the masks, because Michael, showing him before he's put in the sanitarium, he has a clown mask, like, similar to the first one. It's more demented looking though, but like, he's got that, and then he like starts making masks when he's put in the sanitarium. So I like that he uses that idea of the mask, and it's really interesting. Like, whenever he's older and it flashes back to flashes forward to the present time with Laurie Strode in this movie, I like that in the sanitarium where his room, he's got like all these masks that are really creepy and cool, and I liked that idea of him using the masks. Like, I thought that was a cool, nice touch. Like, it was a cool touch for this movie. A cool way to differ from the original, in my opinion. And then you get Michael in school, where he's encountered by that kid from Spy Kids, kid who played Junie. And this guy, like the Myers family, like, just so shitty, so unlikable. Like, he goes up to Michael, and since his mother is a pole dancer, stripper, like, he goes up to her and has a picture of her and says, do you think like she'll come, like, do you think like she'll give me a lap dance? And then he says stuff like how Judith had to have the cum pumped out of her because she got so much cum in her, or something like stupid like that, to Michael. And again, I see what Rob Zombie's doing. He's making these characters push Michael to the edge, but they're just so unlikable, so annoying, and it doesn't work for me completely. But that bully character too, the kid from Spy Kids, he's annoying too, like, so obnoxious. Every kid, like, he bullies Michael, and then he goes outside after he's suspended, maybe he's suspended, I don't think we know. And he like looks at this kid, grabs his hat, he says, "You want it?" and then he spits in his hat and throws it back at him. And I'm like, man, just fuck these people. They're so horrible. But like I said, I understand. He's trying to make these characters so unlikable that it makes Michael turn, but they're just so overly, like, unlikable to me that it just bothers me. so much. And then I liked whenever Michael has that fight with him in the bathroom, and then the principal comes in and says, break it up, and then Michael just says, fuck you. And then the principal just says, what did you say, son? And he just says, I said, fuck you. And then, like, that separates them, and Michael goes to the principal's office, and then his mom comes in. And I like the fact that Deborah kind of is raising her voice at the principal, saying, like, I'm always at this goddamn school every 5 minutes. And then I like how the principal says, like, we're not trying to make you come here every 5 minutes. And then she says, like, it sure sounds like you fucking do. And, like, this principal brings in Dr. Loomis. Which, this is kind of a cool touch, because we see Loomis, like, in the original, it's just Michael goes to, like, he murders his sister, goes to the sanitarium, and then it's 15 years later, and then Loomis is there. You don't see Loomis whenever he meets Michael, so I liked this one that he met Michael, and you saw a little bit more of a connection, even though it's great in the original, but I liked how they had that little touch. And Malcolm McDowell was a pretty good replacement for Loomis. Of course it's not Donald Pleasance, of course it's not, but in terms of a replacement, this guy was actually, like, Malcolm McDowell's already a great actor anyways, and he was a great choice. I like that he was in this. He actually did, like, he brought a lot to this Loomis character. Like, I really liked him, especially in the second one too. He brings a lot to give this character kind of a layer to him. But like I said, going back to the scene in the principal's office, Loomis is brought in, and then Michael runs out, and then, like, the principal and Loomis show the mom, like, pictures of, like, Michael, like dead animals that Michael had pictures of in his backpack, like he presumably murdered them. And I like that, like, she just doesn't understand. I'm like, are you serious? Like, look at the fucking, like, look at the points right here. You just got pictures of, like, dead animals, and, like, doesn't that make sense that he's gonna be a psychopath? Like, seriously, that's so, like, I mean, she was, I think she was in denial of it, but I was just annoyed that she's like, oh, yeah, he found a dead cat, but he took, like, 1,000,000 pictures of dead animals. I'm like, that makes sense. But yeah, just Loomis comes in, and they're gonna talk about what's going on while Michael leaves, and then he murders the Spy Kids kid. And this is really, really brutal. Like, this actually, I like that he did this before he killed, like, the sister and the rest of the family, because in the original movie it just showed that, but in this, you know, and nobody else sees it. He's out in the woods with the Spy Kids kid, and he kills him. But I like the fact that how brutal it is. It actually hurts just watching him, like, throw down that branch at the kid. And I liked how the kid, in his last, like, moments, pleads, like, to Michael, like, I'm sorry, and, like, I like that this guy, I don't know if he changed, the bully, but I like that he and the, of course anybody would say pleading, like, before they die, like, I'm sorry, don't hit me anymore. But I wonder if he did change in the last second before Michael, like, did the final blow with the stick, or with the branch. But that was good, that was really intense, and that just, I don't know, that was really effective, and the violence in this movie is really effective and really scary. And just how brutal it is, the brutality of this is good. And again, even though all the Halloween sequels added gory violence to them, this one is a good addition too, because it does differentiate, again, from the original. This one does try to be something different a lot of the time. So I did enjoy having the brutality of it, because it does add an effectiveness, and Rob Zombie is known for, like, having brutality in his horror movies, of course, but it's really effective in this one and the second one. And then Michael goes home, and of course it's Halloween night, and he's gonna go trick-or-treating, and Deborah, of course, has to go to the Rabbit in Red to work, and then Ronnie's sitting in the recliner just watching TV, and then Judith and her boyfriend come home, and then I like the fact that Michael ran away, and then Deborah, the mother, says to him, like, I can't believe that shit you pulled at school today, and he just goes, but mom, and then she just says, okay, honey, just tonight you're gonna live it up, because tomorrow things are gonna change around here. And then I like the fact that she says to him, I know things seem bad, but they'll be okay. Like, it'll get better. And I liked how he's just like, thanks, Mom. And then after she leaves, of course, he like, Judith denies taking him out to trick or treat because she's a bitch, and she just says like, "Aren't you too old for that? Go do it yourself." And then she and Steve, of course, go and have sex upstairs. God, it's just so unlikable, these characters. But she, of course, Michael goes out, and it does a weird random cut with like Deborah like doing lap dances and pole dancing with Michael just looking sad while Nazareth's Love Hurts plays. I don't get why the scenes of Deborah dancing, like pole dancing and lap dancing, I don't get why those are in the same time and Michael's just looking sad. Like, it just, I don't understand the reason for that, even though it's cool visually, but it's just like, okay, it's kind of okay. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know why that's there. But then, of course, Michael goes back home and does the deed. He goes and gets everybody, and again, it's brutal because like he ties up Ronnie and like slits his throat, and then he goes and like bashes Steve over the head with like a baseball bat, like, and that's one of the most brutal kills, and it makes me squirm because it feels so realistic. I mean, like, so realistic in a way, like the sound effects, like, it just sounds so disgusting and it grosses me out. And then of course he gets Judith, and then Deborah comes home, and like Michael has the baby Boo with him, and then Deborah's like, "What's going on, Michael?" And then she goes in, and of course, like, everybody's dead. And then it just like shows Deborah like breaking down, and of course anybody would break down seeing all your family dead, but like, she breaks down while Michael's just in the back of a police car, and he just looks at the camera, which actually is really a cool shot. And then it cuts to 11 months later in Smith's Grove, and this is where the Deborah character I really, really like in this movie. Sherry Moon Zombie, honestly, is really underrated in these two movies. Like, her performance in the first one, these scenes where she and Loomis and Michael are in the sanitarium. Michael's, of course, in there. He's denying that he killed anybody. Loomis is trying to get it out of him. Deborah is getting more and more tired and beaten, just not getting anything out of him. Him saying stuff like, "Is everybody at home okay?" And then, like, she's just losing it. And then I love the fact whenever Michael, that nurse comes and watches him as the months goes along, and they get more and more tired. Michael is like, they get like, Loomis and Deborah go and talk, and then they leave the nurse, Mrs. Wynn, which is like Wynn from the first film, but it's a girl this time. He sits with that woman, Nurse Wynn, and like, she says like, "Cute baby, it couldn't be related to you," which again is just annoying that they keep everybody so fucking unlikable. But like, he of course kills her, the nurse, and this is a fantastic moment where like he kills her, and then it has the noise of the blaring alarm in the sanitarium, like, blasting. No dialogue is heard, like, it's in, like, there's no dialogue, you just see them talking, but you can't hear anything, you hear them screaming. You see it to where Loomis and Deborah run at Michael, like, Deborah grabs Michael screams at her, and she backs up, puts her hand on her head, and just leans down and just freaks out, like, just sits there and, like, freaks out, and then it cuts to her watching home videos of Michael, and then she shoots herself. But that, oh my god, like, that's those couple of scenes where she realizes what Michael truly is, and even though she already knew, but she realizes what he was, or what he is, and then she watches those home videos and is crying and sulking with a gun, like, right next to her, and of course commits suicide. That is a great moments with that actress. Sherry Moon Zombie in this movie is really, really great, and I really think that she's underrated, and she's really fantastic in this movie. It's so sad whenever you see this character encounter like this denial coming true about her son, and seeing it in person in the sanitarium where he kills the nurse, and she tries to grab him, but he screams at her to back away. Like he's completely gone away. Like, I love that. It's just such a great scene with that, with Sherry Moon Zombie. She's really great in this movie. And then after she commits suicide, it's like it cuts to the present time where Laurie Strode is. And I do like these scenes with how Loomis and Michael, like, Loomis has finally given up. Like, after, I guess, 15 years? Is that what it is? Well, I don't know. I don't know if the years are the same, like, his age in this movie. I can't remember. Because he's older in this movie. He's not 6 years old. He's, like, 12 or 13, I think, in this movie. So I don't know what age he is whenever it cuts to the present. But I love the fact that Loomis is tired and just doesn't know what to do anymore with Michael. So he leaves being his doctor. And I like that Loomis has such a breaking, like he's done it for so long. He's just done. He's finished. Michael is comatose and has been comatose for years. And what else can he do? And he's like, it's haunting him to be around Michael, and he just gives up and says, "I'm done with you." But I love the fact that Loomis in this version treats Michael like a family member, like a son. Like the way he talks to him sounds like they're related and like they are blood relatives or something. And I really think that brings an emotional, like, pull with how Loomis feels about Michael and how he's just gone. Like, I really love how these characters, not in like the dialogue, but how these characters are taken on in this movie, like, as opposed to the first one. Even though the first one is the better one, obviously, the original one, but man, I guess it's 15 years later. I think it said 15 years. But then, of course, we get to the shitty dialogue again, because Michael's going to get transferred after Loomis is gone. And this is the director's cut, by the way. I don't think I have the theatrical cut. Yeah, unrated director's cut. And I don't know the big difference between this and the theatrical. I don't even know if I've seen the theatrical all the way full, or all the way through. Because usually the only version you could find with this one and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is the director's cut, which I thought was really interesting, that they don't release the theatrical one, really. And on the Scream Factory Blu-ray, it's just the director's cut. But, because I know this scene is only in the director's cut because it's so weird, but, like, Michael is going to be transferred. This redneck guy comes in to transfer him, and he grabs another guy. And these are two redneck characters again. And they go and get this new girl inmate, and they are talking about raping her. And their dialogue is just horrible, the way they're talking about what they're going to do to her. And then they go grab this inmate who's helpless, like, on her own, grab her, go into Michael's room where he has all the masks, and it's 15 years later, so he's fully grown. Like, he's like 6'5", 7 foot. But, like, he's making masks in his room, and then they go grab that inmate and start raping her in front of him. And it is just so, again, just so overly, like, too much to, like, for the Halloween movie. I was just like, stop putting in these, like, this rape scene. Like, it's just so weird. Like, what is the point of this? And the dialogue is just so horrible with these characters. You want to fuck her? I'll fuck her. Like, they're so annoying. It's just the characters are super annoying in this movie. A lot of them are. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. The ones that are supposed to be unlikable are obnoxiously unlikable. And Michael, of course, kills them, and, like, whenever they were raping the girl in his room, and then Michael escapes. And I liked how Danny Trejo earlier in the movie, who met Michael whenever he was whenever he killed his sister in his sanitarium, or his family. Danny Trejo's there and says, like, and he becomes friends with Michael, even though Michael isn't friends with him, but Danny Trejo's character kind of creates a bond with Michael, even though Michael doesn't. So whenever Michael encounters Danny Trejo's character, you think that he's going to actually let him go, but he drowns Danny Trejo, and it just shows how far this character is gone, and I like that. I like that that Danny Trejo's character was just kind of like, he knows what he did, but he's still unassuming. Like, he feels like he could get better, but like, he kills Danny Trejo, so he literally, nothing can, like, Michael's so far gone. Even the one person that was nice to him, he killed still, or after that. So I like that. Poor Danny Trejo. But that was cool seeing Danny Trejo in this movie, though. I liked him in the movie, even though he's only in a little bit. And then, of course, Michael escapes. He meets Joe Grizzly in the bathroom at that gas station and, like, kills him, of course. I got a big taco deluxe that I just had, or, like, that line that Joe Grizzly has. I got a nice taco deluxe ready to come out or something. But then we get to the movie, like, the part with Laurie Strode, the Laurie Strode part of the movie, where it's not the same as the original, but it's way closer, except it's more modernized. Not like in a bad way, but it's more modernized where, like, these characters... Well, I guess this is a bad way, with the dialogue again, with some of these characters. What the fuck is up with Laurie Strode in this movie? Like, I really do love Scout Taylor Compton in this movie and in the second one, but some of the lines they give her, man. And in the commentary for this, Rob Zombie was like, oh, we can't make her like Jamie Lee Curtis's character because she'd just be like a Mormon now. And I'm like, there are people in current time that wouldn't talk like you with your shitty dialogue. Like, there are normal, nice talking people nowadays. It's like, you can't... Why does everybody have to talk like a shitty redneck, Rob Zombie? Like, I don't get that. But, like, there's a stupid line where, like, Laurie's talking to her adopted mom, the Strode mom, who Dee Wallace plays. And she says, like, oh, Mr. blah, blah, blah is, like, was looking at me and, like, oh, he wants me to, and, like, she starts fucking a bagel with her finger, and she says, oh, daddy, you want a hammer? Like, she says stuff like that, and I'm like, what is the point of that? It makes this character obnoxious, and she's not like that through the whole movie. That's one of these standout lines where I'm like, why did they make her say that? But she does have some, like, dumb lines later, but again, just the writing in this just bugs me. Just bugs me so much. Yeah, because finger fucks a bagel. I'm just like, why? Just so stupid. And then you got, of course, Annie and Linda, who I liked how Danielle Harris came back for this because she was screwed out of the deal for Halloween 6. So I like that she came back for this one, or they casted her for this one. That's great. She's in both of these, and she's really great in the Halloween 1 and 2. And like, I really liked seeing her back. That's really cool. And Linda, that actress who plays Linda's fine, but she's kind of more annoying. Like, again, she's just a bratty character because she's talking to Laurie about, oh, this my cunt teacher, like, told me, like, I need to, like she wanted her to fail, and, like, then she says, then, like, Linda sings, like, that C-U-N-T needs to get laid, and, like, it just, again, it makes these characters so unlikable again, because they're just so, again, it's just so overly vulgar, it's stupid, it's just so pointlessly annoying for me. But oh my god, the dialogue, so bad. It's not like the worst dialogue ever. I keep saying it's so bad. It's not good, but it's just more annoying than anything for me. And I don't know. And then I liked how Annie has her dad as Chief Brackett. I thought that was, her dad is Chief Brackett, who is Brad Dourif, which is a cool casting addition as well. Brad Dourif, a person who's in another horror franchise that's really big. I love that. That's cool. Like him and Dee Wallace, that's awesome that have these actors in this movie. I liked him as Chief Brackett, and he brought a lot to Chief Brackett as well, and I'll mention that more later. But then it kind of stays similar to the first movie, where Laurie, like, is talking to Annie and Linda in a building, and, like, she sees Michael outside sitting at a house, like, watching her, and that's the house from the original movie, by the way. And then I like the scenes of Laurie and Linda and Annie walking around, but then there's one scene where it's like Michael is literally walking at them in broad daylight. You don't see him, he's off camera, but like they see him and go, hey freak, you want some of this, freak? Like, it's like, I don't get why Michael in this one didn't just go up and kill him, like, straight up. Because they're being so stupid to him. In the other one, in the original, it's like he was in a car, so he just stopped the car, but then he just drove away again. In this one, he's like literally standing next to them, but you just don't see him because he's off camera. Like, that's kind of dumb. But I really liked the scene where Laurie is walking around by herself, and you see every shot it cuts past the tree. It'll be her by herself, and then cut past the tree. Michael's behind her, cut past the tree. She's by herself, and then cut by a tree, or onto the camera, and then Michael's back behind her again. That was a really cool moment in the movie where he's just stalking her outside while she's walking around, and she never notices. That's really cool. That's a cool addition. And in this one, it's funny because they switch around Bob and Linda dying before Annie, because Annie doesn't die in this movie, but I thought it was interesting because Bob and Linda go to the old Myers house and have sex there, and of course, just again, so unlikable, because like they have sex, and then the Bob guy, he's like, how'd I do? And she's like, oh, you said 1 out of 10, how did I do? And she's like, 0. And she's like, oh, you came too quick. And I'm like, just, God, everything they say is just so horribly mean. It's just so obnoxious, and to a point where it's just so pushy to me. And I liked, there are things, again, there are things I do like about this movie that I'm going to point out now. Like, I do like Laurie's relationship with her mom and dad, the Strodes, her adopted family. Even though, of course, that fucking the bagel scene is stupid, but I liked their relationship. It felt real, and I liked Laurie's relationship with Tommy. It felt like the original movie, where they had like a fun little banter going along. Like, they felt like they were real kids, like talking to each other and having fun. I like those relationships. They're really good in this one. And Scout Taylor Compton is really good in this movie, even though she gets some dumb lines every now and then, like with Ben Tramer, where she's talking to Annie, and she's like, or Annie says that, oh, he likes you, and she's like, I thought you said he was retarded, and then Annie said, oh, he's not school bus retarded or anything, and I'm just, man, man, I'm gonna stop saying the dialogue's bad. I'm gonna stop saying it. I'll try to stop. But yeah, the story now is mostly straightforward, like the original, besides the change of like Linda and Bob dying first, and then Annie actually encounters Paul in this movie, because in the original, Paul is just on the phone and he's never seen in the movie, in the original. But in this one, Paul gets killed and Annie gets stabbed and left there, and then Laurie comes in and finds her, Laurie and Lindsay and Tommy, and she screams to Lindsay, like, call the police, and Tommy too, and they all go hide upstairs and whatever, like the original. But it doesn't pack the same punch, because in the original, whenever Laurie went across the street to find that house where all the bodies were, that buildup is incredible. And in this, there's no buildup, because Laurie just walks into the other house, and Annie's on the floor bleeding, and Paul's dead. You don't get a build-up to her seeing all this carnage, and it's more scarier in the original, but it still works okay in this one. But I did like that Annie lived in this movie, even though it doesn't point it out. In Halloween 2, of course, it's obvious, because it shows her getting pulled away, and she's in the rest of the movie, but in this one, you don't really know if she lives until Halloween 2, but I like that. I like that it was ambiguous, and it was cool that she lived to the next movie. But yeah, I also liked, getting back to Chief Brackett, I really liked Chief Brackett's talks with Loomis, because Chief Brackett, you realize in this version that he got the distress call that there was a suicide 15 years ago, and that was Deborah Myers, and her suicide, and a baby just left there, Laurie Strode, and then he took her and apparently sent her to a hospital, like, and put her in like where like the new babies were. So like the Strodes adopted her unintentionally. They didn't even know that it wasn't her baby. Like, I thought that was a cool touch, and I liked how Chief Brackett has a lot of heart to him. You realize that, like, he had this connection to this horrible thing that happened, and he tried to save her. But he's great. And then the whole ending, I think, is good because it changes it up a lot towards the end, where, like, Laurie Laurie's down in a pool, and Michael tries to shoot her, but then tries to get her, but Loomis shoots him, and then Laurie and him are in the car, and that reaction is real, where Loomis and Laurie are sitting in there, and she asks the boogeyman, and he pops out and grabs her through the glass, and then Michael takes her into the house, and, like, she has this great cat and mouse game, and then it ends where Laurie, beaten, messed up with a gun. Loomis has been knocked out, maybe dead, even though he's not. But Michael runs at Laurie, throws her through the second floor outside with a gun, and then she sits on the ground. Michael's there, and then you don't see the shot, but she shoots him, and she screams. And her reaction to Gabrielle Compton is great because it's just so legit how she screams and is literally lost her mental state. She is gone, and I love that. And I loved how it cuts from her screaming to showing her as a baby with Michael. And I just think this is a great remake. In a lot of ways, this is a great remake, but in a lot of ways, it has a lot of shitty things about it. So I'm mixed on it, but I like it more than I dislike it. The dialogue, I can definitely take or leave, but there's a lot of great brutality in it. The characters have a lot of good different emotions than the original film. There's a lot of different things about it that really work. So I think overall, this is a great one, and I can't wait to talk about the second one, because the second one is one of the most original Halloween films. So yeah, stay tuned for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.